Hey, how's it going, Dad?
I'm so sleep deprived. My house is starting to feel like a CIA black site.
Have you considered hiring a night nurse?
You're looking at him.
You got a ripe one coming in you're gonna have to deal with before everybody out there starts puking.
Lovely. Your replacement came in early. She brought in a full bagel spread. I'm just saying.
She's not my replacement. She's just covering as chief while I go on my little sabbatical.
3 months?
I'll be back before your daughter sleeps through the night.
Hello, all. Welcome back to What's On Tonight, a podcast with elaborate, quirky, and unpredictable conversations about TV, movies, and more. I'm Becky.
And I'm Mandy.
HBO Max's hit show, The Pitt, is back, and we are so happy to be covering the season 2 premiere titled 7 a.m. As usual, please note this is a spoiler-filled podcast, so if you haven't watched the episode yet and don't want to be spoiled, just come back and check us out once you've finished.
Episode 1 was written by R. Scott Gemmell and directed by John Wells, the dynamic duo back.
Yes, missed you guys. And because I love to torture Mandy, would you please read this lengthy synopsis Wikipedia gave us?
Girl, you know this is the last thing for torture for me. You give me all the time in the world to run my mouth. That's literally my dream. Okay, Robbie begins his last shift before a planned 3-month sabbatical with Dr. Baran al-Hashimi set to serve as interim senior attending. Baran promotes the use of AI-driven medical tools and tests them while supervising a procedure with Robbie, Whitaker, and Mohan, assisted by new medical students James Ogilvy and Joy Kwan. Langdon returns from rehab but is kept at a distance by Robbie, who assigns him to triage. He treats regular patient Louis Cloverfield and admits to stealing his Librium, but Louis brushes it off. Ethan Bostick, a 79-year-old patient with a pulse, is allowed to die in accordance with his wishes under Whitaker's guidance. Mel reveals she's been named in a malpractice lawsuit.
That was so funny.
It was. And must attend a deposition. Santos treats Kylie, a girl who fell down the stairs, and becomes concerned about possible abuse after noting multiple bruises and red-colored urine indicating hematuria. Dana begins her shift mentoring new nurse Emma Nolan as they respond to an abandoned baby and care for an unhoused man, Troy. McKay treats patient Michael Williams for a wrist injury, but his confusion and erratic behavior suggests a more serious condition. Baran later receives new information about the abandoned baby that leaves her shaken. Or does it? I don't know that I agree that it was information that left her shaken. I feel like she was zoning out there. I'm betting she's going to end up being a combat doc, and she was having a flashback. But we'll get to that.
Yeah, I have some thoughts. So let's dive in. We open with, and this is exactly what I wrote in my notes. We open with fine-ass Robbie riding his motorcycle into work with great shots of the city of Pittsburgh. And I thought it was cool that they did that like aerial shot of the hospital, like behind the trees, showing Robbie's destination. I just thought it was very pretty.
I thought you get a whole new vibe, like right from the very beginning. We got a new theme song.
Yeah,
right off the bat.
It was a song by the Clarks that he was listening to on his way in. I'm assuming it'll bookend and he'll be listening to it again on his way out, like they did last season. But yes, I agree with you. Whole new vibe.
Yeah, and it was very much like you're getting the feeling as he's coming in that Robbie's a lot looser than he was before, possibly stupidly looser. He's riding without a helmet, which a lot of people noted online. But yeah, you can tell right off the get-go that the vibe is starting out much less dark than it was last season.
Yeah, even when he walks into the waiting room and is glad, I don't know if you did the same thing, but I was scanning that waiting room looking for who might be a big deal during this season. But, when he comes in and he's getting glimpses of the patients, he just seems at peace. But then we learn that he's taking a 3-month sabbatical in the Badlands. We learned that his replacement is already there and brought bagels with a cute conversation with Donnie, who we discovered just had a little baby. And there's a lot of talk of his sabbatical from the staff. It seems to be important to him to be saying short term, like this lady isn't replacing him. She's just filling in.
Yeah, so right off the bat, it starts to feel like this whole new relaxed vibe only goes so deep because Robbie is still deeply conflicted about letting go of his ER. Immediately, he starts shutting down even before he even meets this lady, he starts rejecting things about her.
Yeah. Which I did too, to be honest, because I'm like, who's this bitch?
Yeah.
And then I met her and I was like, for real, who's this bitch?
See,
I know I am showing my favoritism. My bias is showing.
well, one of the things that I want to say is that I did do the same thing when I walked in. I was immediately, and I'm sure all of us were scanning that crowd to see who was going to be up at bat next. And it was funny. Like my first two notes are, God dang that crowd.
Right.
And the second one is, it's such a feast for the eyes. And it is. Like, I really enjoyed that first scene where we're coming in and we're looking at everything from Robbie's eyes because you know me, and I am the nosiest person on the planet. One of the things I do enjoy when I'm in scenarios like that is looking around at everybody and trying to figure out what their whole deal is. You know, it was almost like a Renaissance painting. You got like nuns with pussy eyeballs. You got stinky guy. You got the deaf
Blood
girl.
gushers. And I did notice as he's walking through the door, you see that one patient that's McKay's focus. You see him like right next to the door.
Yeah.
I didn't notice that until second rewatch, obviously, because I didn't know who he was. But I was like, okay, well, there's one. And it just makes me excited to see which of these we're going to get to see throughout the season.
Yeah.
You're going to hear people talk a lot about continuity in this episode because it made me really happy the way they didn't just act like the whole last season didn't exist and we're not going to talk about it. Robbie stops and takes a look at the plaque for the staff and how they handled the Pitt Fest shooting. And it did look like he was still feeling the effects of that day. You could tell that and everything that came from the shooting is still with him. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Dr. Shen is back. I was excited to see him. I liked how, if memory serves correctly, we didn't meet the day shift or the night shift until the shooting happened, right? So this time we're starting off with the handover from the night shift instead of us handing it over to the night shift at the end of the episode.
Yes. Last season, the night shift started to arrive around episode 12, I think. The only night shift person I think I can remember from episode 1, season 1 was
Abbott.
Yeah, Dr. Abbott.
Yeah, he's the only one that we saw at the beginning of the shift. I forgot about that. Okay.
Again, this is a bit of a reversal.
I liked it, though. I really did.
I know we're going to get into later some of the reticence that some people had about the vibe, and I can't wait for us to really talk about that because it is very, very different. But I honestly, I have a lot of faith in where they're going with this. And I think part of that is showing that transition and how very different this day is from that other day.
Right. Each day isn't going to mirror the next day. Every day is going to be different. And I like that they're amping that up.
Yeah.
It made me laugh more with the continuity. They're, when Robbie's like, it's, kind of dead out there. And Shen's like, oh, well, no one with blown off fingers has shown up yet. And Robbie's like, oh, man, you just jinxed it. And it made me laugh to when the med students were doing that last year. And they're like, no, don't say that. Don't say that. So know that automatically means we're going to see somebody with their fingers blown off or something. Something big is coming because it happens again later on in the episode, too.
Well, and also just the continuity of the fact that Dr. Shen's character, that he just does not believe in that crap. Honestly, he kind of reminded me in that scene. Me, and anytime anybody brings up astrology or anything like that, I'm so not superstitious about anything. So that made me laugh. I like that they're continuing that into this season.
Yeah.
That he, unlike a lot of the medical staff, he has no superstitions at all.
And also continuing with the continuity, him and his daggum Dunkin' Donuts coffee.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is that sanitary? Because I remember working in the restaurants, we weren't allowed to have an open drink or whatever. Why does that man get to walk around with a cup of coffee all day long and nobody in and out of?
Where are the health inspectors? He better not have a rag back there either that he's using to wipe down the counters when nobody's looking, because that is also a no-no.
Yeah.
They will ding you for that. No, I believe we had the same talk last season. I keep wanting to say last semester. But I believe we had this talk last season.
I don't remember, but I believe we did.
Yeah, well, it's something two old restaurant heads would immediately notice is you don't just be going and drinking in front of the customers.
Yeah. Fair warning to everyone. In the trailer that we saw for the season, there's going to be, I think, what we're going to consider the big moment, like the Pitt Fest shooting was last year when the system goes down and they have to go analog. Mandy and I are going to be talking about our restaurant days and what would happen when the computer systems go down. I thought as soon as I saw that he said the word analog, I was like, oh, Mandy and I are going to go ham on our past. But we'll get to that later. But yeah, sorry, fair warning, everyone, it's going to happen. So the first main patient that we see is Hail Mary. And when that woman said, I need a priest, I don't think I've ever related to somebody more. There's a lot going on in my world right now. When she said that, I was like, girl, I do too. I need a priest.
Same. You got that? Why didn't they hook her up with the nun right across the hall?
Well, maybe a pussy-eyed nun isn't exactly what you need.
We're going to have to be really careful about using the term pussy and nun in this podcast. Not just because I'm going to accidentally say something that's going to get me sent to hell, but the temptation is there.
Oh, honey, you're already there.
Right.
Yeah. Let it roll. Let it fire it up.
And this enabling is half the reason why, girl. We are going hand in hand together.
Yep. Did you see Perla?
I did. I saw Perla, and I was super excited to see her coming back again. She cracked me up when she said, "If Jesus is here, he hasn't checked in it." But
registration.
You know what I noticed about that scene? I thought we weren't cool with giving placebos to our patients without telling them.
It wasn't placebo. It was the B vitamin.
Right.
And here's the difference, I think. I know exactly where you're going, where she got in trouble last season for faking out the guy with the addiction.
Yes.
Shin said what it was they were giving her. He told them what he was giving. And it was, in fact, that is the very lengthy name for like a B complex shot.
That is a slippery moral slope.
I know, but I did not. I was like, okay, well, he told her what he was giving her and that it was going to keep her alive. Take it either way. It was hilarious. So
it's funny. But look, Becky, I didn't have a problem with Mohan lying to the addict dude. So it's not my moral slope that they're jumping off.
I thought you were upset. I'm fine with it. I think it's great.
I was just pointing out continuity of the ethics of the ER there. I thought we're not allowed to lie to patients or even mislead them about the services they're getting. But then again, with a psych patient, like, I don't know what you do. If somebody's delusional,
exactly. I think when you're dealing with a certain level of crazy, which God bless this woman obviously was, you really got to do what you got to do. So we move on to Lena. I loved getting more Lena this season. And man, she was cracking me up. Dr. Robbie makes his way over to her and Lena starts filling him in on everything. And he's like, so tell me about her. Well, she's pretty, divorced, one kid. You could tell she's a strict rule follower, which means I'm probably going to grow to hate her. But we learned that she's a clinical informatics expert with a lot of interest in AI. So I wrote down here in my notes, she's going to be Gloria's BFF.
Yeah, Gloria was who she immediately brought up when they finally do meet. I love that scene because of the line about the giant balls of disrespect.
Yeah, that was my band name in high school. And she's always like, in the name of my ex-husband.
It made me think about us, how every week we've got our punk band name from something that comes up. Giant Balls of Disrespect is our punk band name for this episode.
I love it. Absolutely love it. Dr. Al has the students or residents, I get confused on exactly how to consider them, but working on a fake patient, and we get to meet two of our newbies. First off, I want to credit Sapita Moaf, who is playing Dr. Baran, and then we have Joy Kwan, who is a third-year med student, played by Irene Choi, and she is working with Whitaker, and she comes across to me as pretty clueless.
I love her.
I knew you were going to say that. Without tact, and I wrote here, I don't like her, and I do not see her lasting long.
Oh my God, no. I think she's gonna, right before we got on, Becky and I were talking about how I'm a shitty note taker because I have a pretty good memory and I never know what other people think are important. So whenever I've been tasked with taking notes, it's just not my bag. And that's what she made me think of. Is so many times I've been sitting in a meeting and people have looked at me and been like, "Are you fucking paying attention?" And granted, some of the times I'm not, but most of the time I am. I'm just also difficult for me to sit there and just listen to people talk. So I just got the feeling that she's going to end up being a lot sharper than we think she is.
I hope so, because right now she looks like she doesn't care, doesn't want to be there.
She definitely seems tactless. Like she does seem like she's got some issues about communication that she needs to work on, but I don't think she doesn't care. I think that's just her demeanor.
We'll see.
They all look like babies.
Well, they are babies.
I know.
Next to us.
That scene, as soon as it started, and I'm looking around, and Whitaker's the one in charge, basically. I'm like, if I were in distress and the Teletubbies walked in and wanted to work on me I would be like, where is your mom and dad?
Right. I'm going to need an adult.
Yes, which is awful because new doctors have to start somewhere, but yeah.
So then we get James Ogilvy, who is a fourth-year med student, and he is played by Lucas Iverson. And he gives me cocky douchebag vibes. Very Last Season Langdon is what I wrote in my notes.
Yeah, I don't know. I just thought he was an uber nerd. There was just something super dorkalicious about him to me.
It was his hair, I think.
Yeah.
They wanted to make him look that way, but I think he's got like that. I don't know. Like I said, very Last Season Langdon vibes. So don't like him a whole lot. Don't not like him. I'm not invested in them yet, but as this show taught us, we will get there. So that's our new guys. It made me laugh when Robbie comes in after the fake patient dies and he says, "Good news. He's an organ donor and parts of him will be used in making frisbees, water bottles, and end up as microplastics in our brain and reproductive organs." And Whitaker's like, "Thanks for the words of wisdom, boss." It was cute.
Yeah.
So we get our first trauma to come in and all the students are super happy to go be working on a real patient. And I don't know why it made me laugh. Ned Brower, good for you. Just tossing that dummy and over his shoulder and walking off like that was just something he does every day. It made me think a lot about us talking to Brian Tishnell last night about the gurney and how they coach you on how to do that. And I'm like, I wonder how much coaching Ned Brower had to have to be able to toss that dummy over his shoulder just like that. It was good to see him in so many scenes in this season. It's like they're really upping his presence, and I liked it because he's very good at this role.
Yeah, I like that too. I want to get into my thoughts about the relationship between Robbie and Dr. Braun.
That's my next note is okay. I wrote here that Robbie seemed to walk in hating this woman.
Yes.
Like you said earlier, he was not one bit interested in giving her a chance. And I don't know if it's because he feels threatened that somebody might be better than him at something, or, I mean, obviously this decision was mainly Gloria's as to who they bring in to cover for him while he's gone. And based on what he's learned, it's evident that Gloria probably really loves this person and he hates Gloria. So I don't know, but I don't think he came in giving her a fair chance. Everything she was saying, he was shooting her down or deflecting or whatever. But I also understand where he's coming from, that she came in. And if you're going to come in and you're filling in for someone, wait for them, sit down and talk to them. That why they didn't meet before this final shift, I don't know. It's a lot of weirdness in how all of this came to be. So I don't think he's giving her a fair chance, but I do also understand being rubbed the wrong way when somebody is coming in and you are such a stickler at doing things the way you've always done them, that this is a big shock, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I mean, it very much makes sense that there's going to be conflict, and they're also just inherently, apparently, two very, very different characters. One of them is very rules and data driven, and the other one is somebody who's already shown that they really have a lot of disdain for that kind of hospital management. But a couple things. And I was totally on their side last season with Gloria. I was all on the Gloria hate train, but like one of my notes here is I'm honestly getting on Gloria's side here. And it's because I think it started about the time that she asked him, did you read the email that he sent?
And his response was, I did. I mean, I want to. That was funny.
Right. It was funny, but I'm looking at it from like, I think the way that you're getting annoyed with her for Robbie, I'm getting annoyed with her for Robbie. I'm getting annoyed at Robbie for her. And it's all my own bias. It's more to do with just like my own life and dealing with coworkers. Like, I don't love change. I get why Robbie is frustrated about it, especially with the fact that you're dealing with actual human beings and their lives. And sometimes, a lot of times, the bean counters and the executives are, the enemy because they're only looking at the bottom line. But it's also important. Like, yesterday you were talking about, guys, we just did an interview with Brian Tishnell, who plays Medic Amboy, and we're going to talk more about that later. But one of the things that we got into was about how acting is a business. It's an art, but it's also a business. And it's the same thing with healthcare. Somebody has to be the bean counter. And one of the things I noticed first in this episode is that I didn't realize this, but Gloria is also a doctor. And Dr. Bashar is not, Dr. Basham is a doctor as well. He didn't start out from a place of respect with her either. Like, he didn't even bother reading the email that they sent. So whether or not she's going to end up being ridiculously over the top, and there is some evidence here that she needs to get some real world experience in an emergency room.
She's clearly not experienced in how an actual trauma center works. And I think that added
some
to
of the
Robbie's
frustration.
annoyance and frustration with her.
But there's also something to be said. Things don't improve if you don't change. And sometimes you don't know what change is good until you actually give it a try. And I was kind of looking into what this patient portal or patient passport thing is. I couldn't really find any exact real world parallel, but I kind of read what it was supposed to be. Honestly, it does not sound like a terrible thing. It's just when you get there, they give you a form that tells you that this is what you can expect to happen while you're in the emergency room. And this is about how long it'll. I personally would find that very comforting. Again, I don't want that to supersede, like a crisis on the ground where decisions have to be made. But there's a happy medium, and Robbie is definitely being a child about all of this.
Yeah, he's not being the adult. And then, when they're going through the trauma, and it's obvious he seems set on keeping things as they are, letting the residents teach and run the drills, and
which further makes me think he's not ready to go.
No, I don't think I don't think the sabbatical is exactly. I don't know if it's fully his choice or if it was more of a kind of like a Langdon situation. This is what you have to do. You do it or else. I think he's going to make the best of it. I think in his mind, he's making the best of this. Is going to be a great experience. It's something I've always wanted to do, but I don't think he signed up to say, hey, I want 3 months off.
See, I think he did. What I got, and this is just all in my head, this is just the scenario that I've made up from the vibe of the show, is that he's been going to therapy. He's been working on himself. He wants to be as at peace as he's kind of projecting. And he definitely seems to be doing better. But I think there is still, I didn't write them down, but I was listening to some of the lyrics of that opening song from this season. And it's about a relationship that's good and bad. What's the word? A toxic relationship where, you want to let go and it's not great for you, but you can't completely relinquish control. I think he, through therapy or whatever, has decided I'm going to go on this trip and he wants to be ready to turn it over. But like you were talking about with, that why didn't they meet with him before all of that? Why didn't Robbie ask? He knew he was leaving.
No, I said, why didn't this meeting happen before? I'm not putting that on one person. That's on Gloria. That's on Robbie.
Right.
In my head, Gloria would have involved him in the decision-making process. They would have at least reviewed applicants together, something.
Yeah.
It just seems very disconnected, which makes me think Robbie, while he will take this trip and probably get some good out of it, I don't think it was his main plan that's what he wanted to do. I think he's kind of being pushed to do it.
Yeah, well, I think we see eye differently on that one. I think he's the one deciding to do it. I just don't think he's as ready as he thinks he is.
Yeah. Well, I think those two do need to work it out because, there were just a lot of moments in that trauma. She wanted to do things one way. He's like, just sit back. This is how we do it. And then he would suggest something, and then she would make a little eye roll or snooty comment. They're both acting
Those like kids.
children. And
Yeah.
neither one of them are scoring cool points in my book for how they're acting.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like she feels like she has to overcompensate to impress him, and he's acting like there's nothing about her method or whatever that he wants to know anything about.
Yeah, I don't think she's trying to impress him. The way she was reacting, like when she said, he mentioned that the little lung twist, by the way, shout out to props. That whole open chest scene was one of the coolest things I have ever flipping seen.
Gross.
I find it fascinating to see the human body working like in real time. And that was cool. That was super cool. I don't want that to ever happen to me, but I enjoyed seeing it on a fake person and a fake television show.
Massive big ups to the props. Yeah, that was so gross though.
But yeah, she mentioned making a little snide comment about his decision to do it and that it worked. And then he's like, let's split up. And she's like, well, we can certainly discuss it. And then the way I did laugh so hard when she just pops up on him like Gloria does, and how she's absolutely impossible to avoid like Gloria is. I just wrote here, she is Gloria 2.0, and I'm here for it. It's just funny. It made me laugh when he turns around and there she is, just like Gloria was all those times last season. I'm like, give me more.
He deserved that too. I don't mean that she wants to impress him and that she's like, she has some kind of crush on him, whether romantically or.
I didn't take it as romantic.
I didn't find her to be as hard bitten as that she was just flat out disdaining his advice or anything. It seemed to me that she was competing with him. Maybe that's a better word. It was that she wanted to impress him with her knowledge. And like you could see moments where he was scoring points. You came from the VA. Is that an emergency place? And she was having to stop and like she was on the back foot and she was like, well, no, and she had to come up with, but we do have emergencies that come there. So it just felt like she had at least professional respect for him and that she wanted him to see her as intelligent as well.
Yeah. Okay. I think it was an interesting choice for them to cast her as a woman.
Yeah.
That they could have gone either way, and the show doesn't do anything unintentionally. So I do think that's going to have some kind of bearing and impact on the remainder of the story. All right. Well, guess who's back? Back again. Langdon's back, and he's not being a dick.
Yeah,
I just made that in my head. That is giant balls of disappointment, ladies and gentlemen.
That's going to be our first track.
Yep. So Langdon is back. Looks like he's completed 4 months of the program that Robbie set in place with him. And I give kudos to Patrick Ball for showing all of the right emotions in that scene where we see him first and hear his name being called. It's nice to see him being humbled a little bit after last season. And we get a lot of Lena, the prodigal son, returns too soon. Mel was super excited to see that he was back. She's so adorable and awkward. Santos side eyes. I liked Langdon when he was with Louie and was working with Louie, and you could tell he's working through these steps of the program because he opens up and is honest with Louie. I felt like he was very humble about it. He was not one bit cocky or standoffish or defensive. He was just like, I fucked up. Literally, he says, I fucked up. And I liked them showing us that. I think that was very mature. And I hope that this growth and this side of Langdon we see continue. Where I got pissed off was Robbie's attitude about it.
The girl, we saw this completely differently.
Wow.
Well, with some nuance, which was a lot of things. These first few episodes, I'm going to give it some time to see where we're going with it. First off, I'll say maybe it's my bias. I don't like Langdon as a character. I think that Patrick Ball does a phenomenal job with him as an actor, but I am not a fan of Langdon's in general. So I think it's just a partly that's my bias, but also, yes, he does seem like he is committed to coming in, and he's obviously, like Robbie, he is obviously improved. He's not using, he's getting back to work. He is trying to work the steps. But I felt like he is still cocky and arrogant. He came in and immediately felt like he needed to be put back in rotation, that he was ready to just do whatever, and that he was pushing Robbie. What he did was very serious. And I don't blame Robbie. First of all, in a real world scenario, because one of my notes here is like, is this even legal? Where he's talking to Louis and confessing that he took his Librium. I have questions. Like, I'd like to know if there's any medical professionals out there. How realistic is that? Because every medical professional I know would rather lose an arm than commit to something without tests and forms and all of that. So it just seemed crazy that he would commit, that he would, even for the steps, it seemed like a crazy liability to admit that to one of your patients.
I agree, but I think it was because it was Louis. I think if it had been a different patient with a different, not a, frequent flyer or something like that, he probably would not have done it. But I gave it grace because it was Louis. And it's obvious that these people, Langdon included, care about Louis.
Yeah.
And you're right. He did come in hot. Not hot. I don't think he came in hot. He did come in with expectations, but I don't think that that's wrong. Where I'm upset with Robbie isn't that Robbie put him in triage. I think that was the right thing to do as he slowly works his way back into the mental needs and wants of a trauma center. I get that. But what bothered me is where Langdon says that he would like to talk to Robbie. And Robbie obviously doesn't seem ready for that. And I understand that. But it bothered me not from they're friends or have friendship level, but from a boss employee place. Robbie pushed Langdon, and Langdon very much needed to go into a program. But in order for that program to work, the people around you, especially your boss, have to help you or be there as you work your way through these steps. And Langdon needs to talk to Robbie. There's a lot he needs to say. A lot he needs to apologize for. There's a lot of work that he needs to do. And part of that is going to have to be rebuilding this relationship with Robbie. And Robbie says, I don't have time for you right now. Okay, you're busy, a lot going on. He's leaving the next day for 3 months. And Langdon says it again. Can we please talk before you go? And Robbie, again, very standoffish, is like, I don't have time right now. So he's basically telling Langdon, fuck off. You and I aren't going to work through this for the next 3 months. That's not going to help Langdon's mental health problems that he's obviously working through. And I think as a boss, as your employer, however you choose to hear or accept whatever it is that is said to you, it's your job to sit there and listen to it as his boss. If you're going to obviously sign off on him coming back, you got to give him more than that. When Langdon says, can we talk? Okay, we can't talk right now, but can we talk before you go? And Robbie just shuts him down. And obviously he has no intention of talking to him for the next 3 months. I didn't like it. I just didn't. I love Robbie and I don't like Langdon any more than the next person. But I think Langdon is trying here, and I don't think he's getting the support that he needs from his boss. That's my rant. Off my soapbox.
Yeah, I see it very differently. The way that I looked at it, I understand. And this is another thing. I thought about this. If we have listeners out there who are working the steps or have worked the steps, I'd love to hear your feedback about it, because here's how I interpreted that. Let's just say that he, for whatever reason, this is the exact first time that he's had to approach Robbie about this and work the steps. Working the steps is not necessarily about your job. He's already got his job back. Robbie's already gone to bat for him, obviously. But there's a time and a place. And just like when Langdon wanted to stop, I know that he's leaving in the morning. It's terrible, but you've got two situations here in this show. This is not a real life. This is just the TV show. And we're talking about the relationship between these characters. Yes, there is a responsibility of the professional, which obviously Robbie has still some loyalty to him because he had to have done something to allow Langdon to come back after everything he did, which could have put Robbie in jail. But my understanding of working the steps is You don't get to decide when anyone is emotionally ready, if ever, to hear your apology.
Then Robbie should have looked at him and said, I'm not ready to have this discussion with you, Langdon. When I'm ready, I'll let you know. If that is going to be the big thing behind your attitude, then I think he should have said that.
Well, he's not the most emotionally mature guy himself.
I know.
It's not that he wants to work the steps. To me, it showed that Langdon is still thinking primarily about what Langdon needs in the moment when he's insisting on doing this right now. There is no time frame. And I agree with you, Becky, in a perfect world scenario, in any real, not perfect world, any real world scenario with any of the people in the real world that I know that are working this, I would hope that they would have the opportunity for someone to listen to them and be there for them and give them a second chance, because it absolutely can make a huge difference. I hope that for this character. All I meant is in this episode, him insisting on doing this right then and not being able to wait a few minutes just to me showed that everything is still about Langdon.
Yeah, I see where you are getting what you're getting, but I don't think it was him insisting on doing it right then when Robbie said, I don't have time right now. And he's like, okay, but before you go. And Robbie's like, again,
Yeah, that's the difference is you and I don't see that the same, because to me, if I have hurt someone through my actions, I don't get to decide when they are emotionally ready to hear me. And I am in a moment, especially not the most appropriate moment, asking them to sit down and hear my confession. I'm not ready for that. It's almost, to me, it's polite that he didn't just go, I don't want to talk to you. I don't know if I'll ever want to talk to you again. It would have been the more emotionally mature thing to do.
that would have made me feel better.
Yes.
I am curious, listeners, for those of you who share feedback, let us know in your comments next week I'm curious what your all's thoughts were about.
And if you want to message us, if you or, I know sometimes things about working the steps, being in a 12-step, something you don't necessarily want the entire world in on your thoughts. So if you want to send us a message and ask us to remain anonymous, we're happy to do that.
Yeah. So we end this little part. Sweet Louis, his belly is distended and he's got to have his stomach tapped.
I'm so worried about him.
It's obvious that his drinking is taking its toll. And I personally thought Langdon was really concerned for Louis. And I think seeing addiction the way Langdon, I think, now sees addiction from a first person perspective and got, whatever he learned and heard it through his time in rehab. I really felt like Langdon was genuinely sad and concerned for Louis.
Yeah, that was definitely the most humanizing moment. And whether my thoughts about admitting about the Librium or not, I think to me, the most genuine moment that Langdon had this episode was just that very end part where he said, I'm so fucking sorry. And what I loved about this is that through some of the things that Louis says this episode, you understand that he absolutely does not judge Langdon, because he sees his alcohol as medicine and he sees Langdon's addiction as medicine.
Yeah, he's like, if it helped you, that's fine.
Right. And so I feel like we're going to find out more about whatever the pain is that's driving Louis to use alcohol as a medication, to the extent that he's willing to put his health in this kind of danger at some point. And that, to me, having known so many addicts in my life, that's the part that is heartbreaking. Is just that Louis seems resigned to the fact that this is just medication, and this alcohol is the medication that worked for him, and whatever the benzos are the medication that worked for Langdon.
Yeah. All right, so our favorite charge nurse returns, and man, does she look good. I got the impression based on, I forget who it was she was talking to, but she was saying, I needed a break, but I always find my way back home. It looks like Dana got some time off.
Yeah, that's what I think what she said is that she just came back. Yeah, I think this was maybe her first shift back, or...
That's the impression I got. I just wanted to check with you to see if you got that too.
Catherine Lanasa, congratulations.
Emmy.
On your Emmy. It was well-deserved. She's so beautiful. I was really happy. I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about Dana coming back, because I felt like she definitely earned her retirement. But I'm just really glad to see Catherine Lanasa, and I'm glad she's back up there, and I'm glad she's got her pet back. And
Yeah.
also, I love the way she says Dawny.
Oh, yeah.
Every time she said it, yeah, it was cracking. And she's from New Orleans, and at first I was like really blown away about how well she's doing the Pittsburgh accent. But then I remembered like all those port towns, they kind of Boston, New Orleans, they all kind of have that same. They're very similar accents actually. So it's probably not that hard for her to do.
I saw online a lot of people, not well, a few people in a one post thread were saying that her accent sounds different this season than last season.
They think? Huh.
So I didn't notice it, but I'm curious if anyone else out there agrees with that.
Yeah, especially anybody from the area. I did notice the way she says Dawny, but just because I thought it was cute.
Yeah. So we meet Emma Nolan, who is an RN straight out of grad school. I adore this baby girl. I want to wrap her in my arms, hold her, and just tell her how amazing she is. And I cannot freaking wait to see the rest of this season play out with Dana educating and teaching a young girl. But this actress is played by, I believe it's Letitia Hollard, and this is her first major on-screen role. You go, girl. You go, girl. Welcome to the Pitt. I love you already.
Guys, Becky's mom is a nurse, so this is going to be a plot line near and dear to her heart, I think.
Yes. Yeah. Just get to watch her grow. I cannot wait. She was a mix of last season Whitaker and Mel, like rolled into one person. But, she's got it looks like she's got an entire medical supply closet on her person. And Dana's just slowly, okay, well, let's just put some of your stuff here behind the desk. And she looks like shocked, like, wait, I'm not going to need all that. I just thought it was so cute. And then I liked the continuity from last season with what happened with Dana, where Dana's teaching her about the stamp method, which is how they judge if a patient seems to be like they're about to explode, like Doug Driscoll did on Dana last season. And it made me laugh that the safe word is hula hoop. I know that's 2 words, but just say hula hoop and everybody will come running. And when the phone rang in Dana's hand, I thought because she said hula hoop, everybody was calling her to like check and make sure she was okay. But that's not what was happening. But I thought that's where that was going for a sec.
That would have been hilarious. I love that. That was the other thing I meant to look into. I wonder if the Stamp Act, it's not American history. Sorry, guys. The stamp method. I wanted to see if that's actually standard. And if it is, how sad. I'm sure every hospital has to have some method.
Something like that. Yeah. Sam, any of our other psychology or medical professionals out there, chime in and let us know about a lot of the stuff that was heard in this episode, because they introduced a lot of new stuff.
Yeah,
we all graduated Pitt Academy last season thinking we were going to walk into this season understanding. Nope. I was working Google hard during that second watch.
I found an article from, I think it was Screen Rant, and it was an explanation of all 15 procedures that was shown in the Pitt.
That. Send me that and I'll post it in show notes.
I will, because that was the only way I completely understood what was going on with the chest cavity issue.
I love that.
Yeah. I just knew you did. I knew you did. Both times I'm watching it, just like stank face, like, oh my God.
I loved it. So they end up dealing with the unhoused patient who's causing issues in the waiting area with his odor. And I love Dana and how she just is just a kind human being to everyone. Mm-hmm. I think she even says to Emma something along the lines of, isn't it amazing what a shower and kindness and human dignity can do, or something like that.
That's what she said, Becky, and which was very sweet and very Dana. But what made that scene hilarious is, did you notice that he was jacking himself while she was saying that?
No, yes. I thought he was just like really going to town on cleaning his parts.
He was really going to town.
Oh, bless him. Get you some.
That was where he said something along the lines of, I could stay
here forever. That makes sense. That I see that so differently now.
Yes.
Hey, she's trying to quit smoking. Good girl.
Good girl. Yeah.
And then I liked it when she told Emma to take the unhoused man and put him near the nun. Maybe her divine grace will rub off on him. That was cute.
That was funny.
So, welcome back, Dana. Glad to see you again. All right, so let's move on to our last major section, which is basically Mohan, Whitaker, Garcia, Mel, and Santos. Well, let's start with Mohan. We catch up with Mohan, who is now a fourth-year resident, and she knows Dr. Boren from her time with the VA, and it appears that Mel does too. And I loved her phone going off constantly during that very severe trauma. And we find out later that it's her mom, and Mohan took a partnership, something in Jersey to help take care of her mom. And now her mom met a man selling her house and is going to go cruise the world. So does that mean that there's a possibility Mohan will be leaving?
No, what I got from that scene is that she was going to have to back out of that, that wasn't a certain future now because
But
of what her
it
mom
looked
was
like
doing.
that's where we were headed, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought Mohan was a real jerk in that scene. That whole scene, I was like, girl, maybe you need to get laid.
Well, I'm going to be honest. I get her frustration because I don't think this is the first time that her mom has pulled something like this. So I don't think that reaction was a first time thing. So I'm giving her grace at why she obviously was reworking her entire career path to be there to support her mom. And her mom just sounds like has made numerous decisions where there's a reason Mohan needed to go be with and take care of her mom.
Yeah, I think if she just hadn't been so shitty to McKay, I might not have judged her so harshly.
No, I agree with you on that. Sorry, I thought you were talking about her mom.
Well, it did make me look more to the way that McKay's point of view of maybe she fell in love. Did she say, and I could be wrong, maybe I missed it. Did she say she was going to take care of her mom? I got the impression that she was just saying like her dad had died and her mom was alone, so she was moving back to be near her, but not like her mom needed care.
No, she said support or care. One of the two. I'll go back and check.
I think she said support. And the way that I interpreted that, and again, I don't know. I think you're right. I've absolutely, girl, I know in our personal lives that I am well aware that sometimes it can be very frustrating when you have parental figures that get to that point in life where they need things and you're trying to do that and juggle everything else in your life while they're actively making choices that make zero sense. So it could still be that, but the way that I interpreted that was more of just she took that because she thought her mom needed somebody to be there after their dad died, but instead her mom is going to eat, pray, love. I didn't get that she was going to physically care for her.
I think it was, I don't know if it was financial support or keeping mom in check.
Well, either way, I would have had more empathy for her had she not immediately been so shitty to McKay.
Yeah. I thought it was funny. I need to get laid. And then Mohan's face. And McKay's the one who says, is that a little much for 8 a.m.? And Mohan was like, yeah, or ever. I didn't think it was bad. I didn't think she was being shitty. Well, we just aren't clicking on any cylinders this episode.
No.
That makes me laugh. I feel like this is the better sister all over again. So back to Mohan. I did laugh very hard when she was with the elderly patient and her impatient son. We find out the lady stopped taking her medicines. She discovered the power of weed, and she eats a few cookies every few hours, and it makes all the pain go away. All right, so I love seeing Whitaker as a teacher, the way he's taking charge and his sweet knowledge. And that moment when Robbie is watching him and he sees Whitaker take what he learned from Robbie and passes it on to the students with the moment of silence for the elderly gentleman who passed, and actually using Robbie's words that he may have been somebody's brother, somebody's husband or whatever. Loved that. And then in true Whitaker fashion, he's like, oh, but make sure your phones are on silent, which was a great callback to him and his, I don't even remember what the ringtone was, but I loved it. Thursday night, when I was watching the episode, I text Mandy and our friend Sam. I text them both just a toothbrush, several toothbrushes, because my favorite moment was when Whitaker comes in. He's in the trauma and they're talking about Santos not knowing how to show her feelings. And he says, not all of them. That's my favorite part of the episode because we learn that Garcia is upset because Whitaker's using her toothbrush. So what that means is Santos and Whitaker are living together. So that means Garcia's over at Santos's house and they're doing it. I text Alex this morning and I was like, girl, yes, the toothbrush. I love it.
I messaged Alex Metz too on Facebook to tell her how awesome it was. First of all, it is such a kick in the head every time we see some of our new friends come on screen. You know, it just tickles you when these are people that you kind of have a relationship with now and you know them as people and you root for them and you know how exciting this is. So it feels really cool seeing her on screen, and just the added bonus of now I know she's not a groomer, and her and my girl Santos both much looser in this season so far.
Yeah, they seem to be doing really, really well.
They're rubbing toothbrushes.
Yeah.
For sure. I don't know if this is the right place to say this, but I want to say that maybe my favorite moment of the episode was watching Whitaker teach those kids about the dignity of somebody passing.
Yeah.
And the reason that it really stuck with me is in an episode with a fair amount of gore, that scene was the most chilling to me because I can't imagine a worse way to die than with 4 people who only one of them is even kind of paying attention to the fact that you are about to go, well, 2 if you consider Princess as well. But those 2 new kids did not, like, that was a big juxtaposition. But of course, they were trying to show a peaceful death, which is wonderful. But it was like it was just so cold and clinical. And I just thought, what an awful way to die. And I'm sure it happens every day.
Yeah.
Was very sad. And even though I do like Quan, I think she's got potential to be pretty funny. She was very, like, I was disgusted with the way that she treated death in general. Well, like in that first scene, she did seem to get a little better at the end where she pointed out like a peaceful, easy, painless death is the best way to go. But yeah, they just are almost like he was furniture there.
Yeah. I like that they paired these 2 with Whitaker. I think they need again, this show doesn't do anything unintentionally. So I'm very excited to see how that. Well, one, it's cool how it shows how much Whitaker has grown in the last 4 months. And 2, I can't wait to see what these kids learn from him as they go. And also how that continues to help Whitaker grow into being a even, stronger, more competent, awesome doctor.
Yeah.
But LOL, at his last year it was Scrubs. This year it's his badge.
Yeah.
Still says student doctor on it. And they ran out, so he couldn't get his. Some more continuity that the show just makes me happy with. All right, so next up is Mel. Don't get too much Mel in this, but what we do get is absolute gold. It's very cute seeing her little quirky things where she's all distracted and Dr. Ellis says something to her and Mel's like, what? I didn't say anything. Not even though she was being asked a question. We find out she has been named in a malpractice suit, and I'll bet all the money that I have in my bank account, it is that mom who they did the spinal tap on her kid, the anti-vaxxer last season.
Oh, if it is, oh my God. I will testify. They better call me to testify if it's that woman.
I thought it was so cute when she's talking with Santos and she's talking about Santos is being sarcastic about K-pop bands or whatever. And Mel's like, well, a favorite K-pop band? I don't really know that I have a favorite one.
Yeah.
And she just keeps going. And then she's still talking. And Dana's like, you're talking to yourself. And Mel realizes Santos is gone. I thought that was so cute.
I like Santos's relation because everybody knows she's my girl. But I like that they've shown her loosening up a bit. And also people not just kind of coming to understand that's part of her personality and giving it back to her as well. I loved seeing Javati no longer like looking abruptly, like given when she's snarky, she just gives it right back. And you can tell that all of them have developed more of a friendship and a care for each other. Santos clearly did care what was going on with Mel, but Mel wasn't just sitting there letting her bully her either. She was pointing out, you're being a bully.
Yeah. And then Santos is gone. That was cute. And was it just me or was that leg lack patient hitting on Mel? And
for
she
sure
was
hitting on Mel.
absolutely clueless.
She had no idea.
So cute. Love her. Welcome
I
back.
adore Boba.
Yeah, right. Oh, so great. All right, so let's move on to your girl, Santos. We already talked a little bit about how great or how much better she is with Giovanni and Mel and how she seems to be forming friendships. And I appreciate that they didn't bring her back and have
Completely
her
different.
all of a sudden be this like this complete 180. She's still Santos. She's what makes her, but she is softer, she is kinder, but she didn't lose her edge. I appreciate that very much.
Yeah. Yeah, she's still cocky, but she's not nearly as abrasive. You can tell that they've all had time to rub against each other and metaphorically and learn we care about each other.
Well, I don't know. Her and Garcia are definitely doing some rubbing.
But you can tell that they've all worked together to the point now that there is a bond in a relationship and that they snipe at each other, but there's love and caring there. She clearly cares about Giovanni and what's going on with Giovanni. She mostly cares about getting in with Giovanni's mama, but I love that. I'm like you. That's one of my favorite parts of the episode is to see that she has formed a bond with the unit and that everybody seems to be getting along pretty well.
Yeah. So I like that Santos is matched up with this sweet little girl. And now Santos is now a second-year resident, by the way. I tried to make notes of where everyone is as I could find it. But so I did. It was funny when Giovanni's talking to her mom and Santos just introduces herself again and basically talks about how she's planning on doubling an emergency and surgery. And she's like, which would be a problem if I weren't so gifted, basically is what she's saying. I'm like, all right, I'm not mad at you, Santos. She has really grown on me.
It's kind of funny, like, it almost is like if Giovanni's mom was Santos's mom. It's almost like Santos is jealous. She wants a mom like Giovanni's mom. Giovanni's mom drives her crazy, but Santos is like, yes, give me all the good girl cookies. Like, she does have the drive to do what Giovanni's mom wants Giovanni to do, and Giovanni's like, leave me out of it.
Right. But I like that they paired Santos up with another kid. That was a huge focus in season 1 is her background and her past and what she dealt with growing up and what a great job she did with that asshole dad who was abusing his kid. I like that they paired her up with another child, and I am very interested in this storyline. It's one of the patients that I found most interesting because there was a lot.
It was very weird.
Like the little girl was way too mature for a 9-year-old, I think, being asked medical questions. So it's like almost like she's been coached, or I don't know. It was weird. But then you see all of these horrible bruises and breaks and whatnot. And then the girlfriend is interesting because she's a new girlfriend, right? She says, I've been seeing her dad. I'm not used to doing this. And the way the girlfriend's face was like very confused as these bruises and things are being revealed. And when Santos is off talking to Dr. Al and Dr. Robbie about what she's seeing, the girlfriend's like over, like you could see the shot behind her of the girlfriend. Like if this plays out the way it looks like, the dad is definitely abusing his daughter. The girlfriend is new and doesn't know anything about it. And this is, I don't know. It gives me that weird, the couple or that woman that came in like, oh my gosh, I just had a thought. That baby that was left in the bathroom, do you think that's the baby from that weird lady and her assistant from last season?
It could be.
Oh.
I don't know. That lady kind of struck me as the groomer, though, so I don't know that she would have been the one.
No, I don't think the lady dropped off the baby. Do you think, I think maybe it's that woman and her baby.
Well, no, the woman that was being trafficked wasn't the pregnant one. The pregnant one was the trafficker. So how would that work out?
Right. Oh, well, never mind. Dang it.
Well, I don't know. Still could, but what I thought, getting back to that, the whole scenario with the little girl, very interested in this because I can see this playing out several different ways. On the one hand, it's very weird. Like, I can't imagine a scenario where my child is in this has this kind of fall, whatever, just on the surface. If the only injury was the one that they were treating today, that I would just go to work and let my newish girlfriend take my kid without me to the
Right.
hospital. So that's strange. Then you've got the fact that she's got all of these prior injuries, and I was seeing the same thing that you are, that the girlfriend is starting to see this is kind of weird. But what I thought was strange is that the little girl didn't seem like that little girl
Scared
from
or
right. She didn't seem like she was lying.
like she looked mature, like this is just, she was answering.
She looked like she was answering honestly. Like she was clueless as to what they were trying. Like there was the little girl from last season, you very much got the impression that she was lying for her dad. This little girl, it doesn't seem like that yet. It seems like she's telling the truth. But if that's the case, what is all of this? I mean, like there's none of that makes sense. So, but I could see a scenario where this is going to be a storyline about how Santos can't do what she did last season, or that she can't jump to conclusions, because I know that you and I
Oh.
saw that whole storyline where she threatened that guy one way, but there were a lot of people that had huge problems with it because they thought it was unethical. So I could see a world where the point of this storyline is going to be that Santos is going to, because of her own bias, of her own past trauma, going to make an assumption that is incorrect about this girl. But then where in the hell is all of this bruising coming from? And why is her father not there?
Yeah, it's off, and it's pointing in one direction. It's pointing in the direction I would have taken Santos
Yes.
with Santos, but I did like, and it shows the
growth.
The growth and maturity in Santos is when she presented to Robbie and Dr. Al, she says she's going through her steps of what it could be.
Yeah.
And then he's like, okay, well, what do you do? She's like, continue this and this and this, then decide if it needs to be reported.
Yeah.
So she isn't jumping the gun.
Yeah.
And just automatically going, guns blazing, going after
Yeah.
this person. She's really going to take the time to get all of the information. So it was a nice nod to show how she's
Her
grown.
growth.
But yeah, this is an interesting story, and I am very curious.
I'm dialed
to see
in
where it
on this
goes.
one for sure.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to chart notes. First chart note I have here is Mr. Burgess. I really don't have anything much to say about the patient itself, but his wife with her little teacup dog in the bag, when she started pulling out all those medications, I laughed so hard and almost cried. My mom is dealing with some health issues, and she literally carries her medication around with her in a giant Ziploc bag. So
yeah, that's clearly going to be another ongoing storyline, at least for a bit. And I'm wondering how that's going to play out, as if it's she's causing most of the problems because
she's giving him, making him sick.
Or are they jumping the gun and prejudging, and he really is genuinely like your mom going through some shit, and she's just doing the best she can to take care of him.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see where they're going to go with that.
All right, next chart note is McKay. We get her with a gentleman named Mr. Williams. This is another interesting patient that I am very curious to see what this diagnosis is. He presents with injuries from a fall, being like calm and then aggressive, but he's forgetting things. And you could see how visibly shaken she was when she went to lift his pant leg or something. And he flinched, like he almost like an aggressive way.
Yeah.
And she went and called that male nurse to come stand there and be there. You could see that this gentleman is obviously struggling with something, and I am very curious to see how this all plays out. But still amazing. Well done, Fiona Dorff, being that calm, gentle, she's just such a rock star in this role, and it was so great to see her back on screen.
Yeah. Hey, you think they're going to make a love connection?
Her and this gentleman?
Yeah, her and Captain Forgetful.
She needs to get laid.
I know. I'm just saying, she helps him get his memory back.
He helps her get her groove back.
Yeah.
I'm here for it. As long as he stops being mean.
Yeah, he's got to stop, because he was a real dick. I mean, there were many times that I would have been like, take your Swiss cheese memory having ass out of my ER. Then fine, go.
Yeah. Good luck.
I don't understand with that kind of compassion how I didn't go into the medical field.
I don't know either. Really feel like you definitely missed your calling, and it's not too late.
Yeah, oh yeah, I'm only 50.
All right, so next up is Javati. She really seems to be coming into her own. We talked about it a little bit, but she definitely has a lot more confidence. And as we said earlier, I like that her and Santos are getting along better. Her mom is still pushing her to go into surgery. Obviously, she's not answering her mom's phone calls or texts. So I don't think things are good between them still, but it really, I'm very
Realistic.
what the hell is her mom going after Robbie for? That was some bullshit.
I know, I thought that was so funny, but I did love the line. Obviously, she thinks that emergency medicine is beneath her daughter and her
Right.
talents. And her saying, like, you have chaos, we have a schedule. And she said, and he said, that Giovanni was a grown woman. And she goes, yes, but she's a young woman and she's still very impressionable. And you're and he goes, impressionable?
Yeah.
Becky wishes he was impressionable up on her. Oh, I forgot. We're not allowed to say anything that's going to get Noah Wiley to give you a restraining order.
Extend the restraining order.
Right.
So along that, when she tells him we need to talk, and as she's walking away, Robbie's like, same time tomorrow.
Yes, that was funny.
Oh, I love it. Oh, I love those.
I don't want to bring up painful memories, but that's what he should have said to Langdon.
Fair enough. I mean, I would have laughed. And then we get the news that Giovanni's 21st birthday is coming up. Santos clocks it, and I cannot wait for Santos's 21st birthday or Giovanni's 21st birthday. I know they keep the show primarily in the walls of the hospital, but if by the end of this episode we don't have a party
I'm going to be
where
mad.
everyone's kicking it, I'm going to be pissed off.
Hopefully that'll be the last episode, maybe. But I like seeing Issa Baronis and who plays Princess?
Kristen Villanueva, she just had a baby. Congratulations.
Yeah, I like seeing Issa and Krista having a little moment where they were speaking Tagalog together.
Yeah, it's a good callback to last season. See, continuity.
Yeah, we never really, we didn't get into, I don't think they ever mentioned last season that Santos was actually part Filipino as well. And so I thought that was a really nice homage.
Yeah. Next one is Esme. I just brought up Esme because I love more continuity. Robbie, I love the way he cares about most of his staff, but he acknowledges everyone from who cleans the floor to who changes the light bulb. I'm glad that Esme's back, and that was just more nice continuity. I really like that. Next chart note, the deaf woman in the waiting room. I'm assuming she's deaf. I cannot wait to get her story. They introduced so much intriguing stuff that last season we didn't know what to expect in each episode, but now we know when we meet these people that they're going to end up being something. So it just really added so much pow to this first episode.
I love the deaf woman's name is Harlow. I think it was like Harlow Glenn or something. It was a really cool name.
It was beautiful.
She had the best name of the episode, but I also wonder what her plan was. Like, are they failing her, or did she go in there and have no plan on how she was going to be alerted when it was her time to come up?
Yeah, because what's the young lady's name who works the desk? Oh crap, Leah? No. Anyway, because she's very competent at what she does, so obviously she would to get the lady her name banned or something. They had to have communicated in some way, so she had to realize this young lady was deaf, I would imagine.
Right.
And maybe just in the confusion or something, she didn't realize whose name she was calling, that she needed to actually go get her. I don't know, but that's more of what I'm interested in finding out.
So I could see this playing out either way. Either they should have gone over and said, had some better plan of alerting her, or she just somehow it fell through the cracks and no one knew that she was deaf. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
Definitely think we're going somewhere. You don't give anybody a name like Harlow and make them all beautiful and Fiona Apple looking in the middle of your lobby if you don't have plans for them.
I thought Amy Winehouse.
Yeah, I could see that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Next chart note is there's a baby in the bathroom. There's a mysterious baby in the bathroom, and she looks very healthy. The episode goes to black on Dr. Al getting a piece of paper with results on it. And at first, obviously her face, she looks like she's shaken or shook or rattled or something. And both Javadi, there's Mohan, and I think it's Nurse Jessie, they're there with her. It doesn't look like anything on the paper was weird because they're both like, what's wrong?
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought she was having, I've gotten it in my head now, and one of my weird, conspiracy theories that I like to make up about where they're going with things. I think she's going to end up being some kind of trauma doctor and have trauma in her past, like war zone work or something like that. And that maybe that's even where her love of order comes from.
Yeah.
But it felt like to me that there was something about that infant that was triggering her, and she was in shock, in a fugue state, had blacked out for a moment.
Yeah. So something weird. So looking forward to watching that play out too. Last thing I have is quotes. We went through most of them. The giant balls of disrespect. Lena to Robbie, I'll give you $1,000 if you take my second ex-husband with you. I'm going to need more information about Lena and her exes, please. Oh my God, Dr. Garcia, when Dr. Al and Robbie come in and she says, about time they replaced you, rabbit bitch. And Robbie says Dr. Garcia has a hard time expressing her feelings.
He gave her a nickname, YOLO.
YOLO, yeah.
Yeah.
But
Did
rabbit
she call
bitch.
him rabbit bitch?
Rabbit bitch.
It was pretty funny.
I loved it. I freaking loved it.
I just loved seeing Alex have her moment on screen again. And it's just her being the sweetest person on the planet, and seeing her play somebody as tough as Garcia is a hoot.
It's a trip. It is
It's a
such a
testament
trip.
to her skill. You know her from the moment she walks in the room. Before she says anything, her body language, her facial features, how she approaches the surgery, all of it. She's a great actress because she becomes that character, and it's completely different than her as a person.
Yeah, it's just more of what makes her the amazing woman and actress that she is.
Yeah.
All right. That is all I have on the episode. Do you have anything else you want to add before we head into final thoughts?
Nope, I don't think so.
All right. Well, my final thoughts on this one are yay. Absolute yay. I think this was an excellent first episode. Nice intro into the new cast, and then getting to catch up with our regulars. As I've said throughout the episode, great continuity on things from the first season. I'm already in love with some of these new folks and already reinvested in those we grew to love last season. And I am super excited to see where this season is about to take us. I just think it's going to be another great ride. So I give this 5 pus-filled, infected nun eyes out of 5.
How did I need to start anticipating the nasty measurement units you're going to be using. Oh, that eyeball.
Just you get for making me watch a clown for 2 months.
Man, you know what? I can almost see that nasty nun eyeball turning into a horror movie. And like maybe that the power goes out and there's a nun crawling on the wall with pus dripping out of her eyeballs. I don't know.
That would be an interesting choice for the show to go.
I mean, I'm here for it. I would have a very special Halloween episode. I don't know what they need to do.
Oh, that would be funny.
I loved it. Absolutely loved it. And I'm going to talk a little bit here about some of the online chatter that I saw. And we're going to get into some of the feedback that we've gotten. I am aware that there is a general issue with the pacing of the show among a lot of people. I think we're looking at it all wrong, man. I think this is the calm before the storm. I think very blatantly throughout the episode, they planted little seeds where they were pointing there. I think that the fact that this was a very chill, I think that is very much a plan. And these people have been writing, I didn't realize this, but Scott Gimel was writing China Beach. I had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, I had no clue that they were that embedded in medical dramas, and they know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the reality of medicine is it is not always like it was at the Pitt Fest, the day of the Pitt Fest, where it was just constantly trauma after trauma after trauma. I think that it often is one of the things that is as unsettling as days like that is how you have these days that start out very calm and in the background things are heating up. I think we're going to look back on this episode and be like, remember when nothing crazy was happening for that one episode? Instead of last season where we just got thrown in a hot vat of oil, it's going to be like the frog
It's a
with the
slow
heat.
burn.
Yeah, slowly getting hotter. And I'm really fascinated to see all of these people in the background, like we talked about that very first scene as they went through the ER, who's coming back, who's going to end up being a much bigger player than it seems like in the moment, where they're going with some of these really fascinating cases. I'm completely on board.
Yep.
I'm 5 lesbian toothbrushes down.
Yes. Excellent. Excellent rating. I love you for that. All right. So just a tiny thing on show notes and news. I'm sure there was more, but y'all, if you know me and remember me, I don't like to be spoiled. So I really don't go deep dive into a lot of articles where they are talking about the season as a whole. So this is all I got for now. But Mandy, you want to share that with us? Some good news.
Warner Brothers has confirmed that The Pitt has already been picked up for a 3rd season. Woo!
If you follow Warner Brothers on Facebook or Instagram, there's a very funny little short video. It starts with Robbie, and he's got a balloon, a big giant number 3 balloon tied to his wrist. And he's like going in and getting his hand sanitizer and washing his hands, just looking completely normal. Then it switches over to Dana, Catherine Lanasa, and she's got it on her wrist and she's just typing away. And then it switches to, I think, Mohan. Santos, who has it on her. It's cute. It's just a cute little way that they put out there that season 3 is coming. So if you haven't seen that, go check it out.
Yeah, very exciting.
Well, we did get a nice amount of feedback. So
We sure did.
Let's get into that. Mandy, why don't you start us off?
All right. So from what's on tonight's Facebook post, Kitty Cantrell, who is the admin for, if you are on Facebook and you're looking for her page, it's just called The Pit. It's phenomenal. We're going to talk a little bit more about that later, but I really suggest anybody who hasn't already checked it out, please go do so. Kitty says, I miss Myrna. Man, me too.
Same.
Yeah, was waiting because I wanted to get into this with you guys because I know so many of us. That was the massive thing that I saw across the board was people saying, where's Myrna?
I'm not giving up that Myrna's not going to make an appearance. I'm not giving up on that. These guys know how much we love her. They're not dumb. It might be a short cameo, but I'm okay with it.
Yeah, y'all, and if you haven't done it, guys, you need to bring Myrna back. Anyway, Kitty says, I miss Myrna. I feel like there was no sarcasm or humor in last night's episode, which made me miss Myrna even more. And then she says, number 2, I was disappointed that Sean Hattasey wasn't in the episode. I know that they're on opposite shifts, but he's amazing. I love him as Dr. Jack Abbott, so I missed him last night. Looking forward to seeing him soon on the show. And he is confirmed, right?
Yeah. He is. Yeah. I have not looked at his IMDb credits, but I'm 99.9% sure we are going to see him back when the night shift is coming back. He'll be back like he was for the shooting eventually.
Right. Number 3, Kitty says, it was nice to see Dr. Langdon humbled a bit.
Thank you.
Yeah. I literally love his character so much, and I'm so glad that they gave him the 9 months to get help and treatment, and that is going to speak to so many people in the world who are watching the show because addiction is fucking hard.
Aww.
So I love his character. I love his growth, and I love how Mel rushed up to him because she was so happy that he was back.
I love that too.
And speaking of Mel, she and Huckleberry are my 2 favorite characters. They're just phenomenal. So glad to see them last night in season 2, episode 1. Number 4, lastly, I do not like this new character, Dr. Baran. I don't know, something about her just feels off. Like she doesn't fit in with the rest of the doctors and nurses. And then Mary Ward Good replied to Kitty's comment and said, I miss Myrna too, sad face. So glad they brought Louie back.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you said there, Kitty. And so much could happen in these next, we get 8, how many, 15 episodes? We got a wild ride. So
I
yeah,
didn't look to see it was 15 last episode, but
I think it's the same.
it's just such a massive cast. I completely understand. We all have our favorites, and I think this is just going to build as the seasons go on with us wanting everybody having their pets that they want to see in every single episode. But I understand why they can't do that as well with a show that is such an ensemble cast. And I don't want to hijack the notes here, but before I forget, one of the moments in the show that I really loved, we were talking with Brian Tishnell, who plays Meta Gamboy, and we were talking about how choreographed everything has to be. Did you notice the moment when Dana and McKay were walking past each other, and it was just so smooth? Like the transition from McKay's point of view to the camera following Dana, it was really beautiful. Obviously, they're coworkers, there's friends, there's no beef there. It was just like it was a very natural moment, but you really got the sense of what good storytellers and how well their cameraman act in that moment. Anyway, I wanted to bring that.
That's cool. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. All right, so Mary Warden Good also left her own comment, and she says, not a fan of the new attending, too buddy-buddy with the admin, and not wanting to listen to how things actually work. And Erica Land replied, when she said calling it the Pit needs to be changed, I was like, girl, nah, that's our show title. Back off. LOL. Crying, laughing face emoji. I love that.
I missed that. That's very funny.
Welcome back, Erica.
Yeah, Erica. Erica also left her own comment saying, we are back, baby. And I'm stoked to see how this July 4th at the Pit will go down. Little things I enjoyed from the episode. Number 1, Whitaker taking charge and showing the new interns about the respect and moment of silence. Robbie looked so proud. He really did. Oh. Santos' wit and nicknames off the cuff for Mel. Melancholia, Mel practice, yes.
Oh, God, I missed Melancholia. That's funny.
Yeah, I left that too. She says, I'm glad Langdon confessed to Louis about what he did with the benzos.
Me too.
She says the patient flirting with Mel and her having no idea. I love Boba. Yeah. With the greatest smile and excitement on her face. And then Erica goes on, questions or things that made me go, We went into a POV shot of a woman in the waiting room at one point in the episode. My thinking is she's deaf or hearing impaired as the noise around her cut out when in her POV. At a later scene, we hear a name being called more than once over the PA to have the patient go next, and no one seems to be responding to that. So that doubles my theory. We agree with you that there's something really intriguing there. Then she says, what in the world happened to cause Mel to get into a malpractice lawsuit over the past 18 months? Well,
but I think it's anti-vaxxer, Mom. Y'all let me know. What do you think?
That's a really good theory of Becky's. It'll be interesting. I'd actually like to see that lady get her ass handed to her. So if that's the route they're going to, I'd be okay with that. And then Erica finishes up, whose baby was left behind and why is the doctor shook at the end of the episode? Yeah, great questions.
Excellent question. Oh, so good to hear from you, Erica. I don't know why I said your name like that, but anyway. So from the Pit with Noah Wiley on Mac's Facebook page, Linda, we missed you. Linda Morrison says, it seems like Whitaker has grown so much confidence. I agree. He will do great this season. I hope Dr. Langdon and Dr. Robbie will be able to get their friendship back, but it might take a while. Yes, and I think maybe that's my problem is I want instant fix, and that's not reality. So we'll see.
Well, and here's the thing. Maybe that's one of the story arcs. Like, you can't have that wrapped up in episode 1 because maybe that's part of what Robbie's going to have to deal with over this is, like, maybe there's going to be a moment where Langdon is going to have to prove that he really has changed and that Robbie needs to, who knows? Jeanette O'Connor, who is our beloved Myrna, wrote, you already know my thoughts with the little winky face, very Myrna looking emoji. Girl, yes, we will get a petition if we have to, Jeanette. If anybody out there is on Facebook, if you're on social media, maybe try to hit up Jeanette O'Connor, see if you could send her a friend request, see if she'll accept, because she's a hoot. She's a sweet lady.
Oh, it's so much fun.
I suggest, guys, if you ever get downtime and you're looking for something to listen to and you haven't listened to any of our cast interviews, or if you have, refresh yourself on them because it's very interesting to hear their perspective on the show. So she's really been one of my favorite parts of this whole experience of covering the show, and we can't wait for them to bring her back, and they will if they know it's good for them.
From the Pitt Band's Facebook page, Diane Peters wrote one word, excellent, with several like award emojis and several heart emojis. Welcome, Diane. It's nice to have you. And we agree. Absolutely excellent.
Well, Diane, that's excellent use of emojis. Via email, my own little mommy, Anita, wrote, I'm really disappointed that Dr. Robbie arrived at work on a motorcycle with no helmet. An ER doctor would know the kind of head trauma that can happen without a skid lid. My mom used to, well, my stepdad and my uncles used to ride bikes, and she also worked in a biker bar for a while. So that's another word for a helmet. I would have posted it to your page, but alas, I'm banned. Yeah, guys, my mom is a rebel. She got kicked off of Mark Zuckerberg's internet for being controversial and posting a link to some facts.
It was too much.
It was the dumbest thing in the world. It literally was just a link to a factual article, and she got the boot, but we are never going to let her forget it now. So for the rest of the season, her feedbacks will be coming via my text messages.
And I love it. Thank you, Anita, for writing in. And fun fact about Mandy's mom, she makes the best pork chops I've ever had.
Yeah, that's the only reason Becky's still sticking with me.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Thanks again to everybody for the feedback and for all the love. We love hearing from you every single week. We do. That's one of the things I want to do this season as we get into this is just what we've been doing through this episode is just like more of your thoughts, man. Like I'm really interested to hear what you all have to say.
Yeah, and there is no message or voicemail too long. We don't care. If you want to write a soliloquy, please share. We genuinely do. And that's why we wait days later to record because we want to hear what y'all have to say about it. So keep it coming.
It's the conversation about it and the things I learn. Like how many things did we learn last season from medical professionals, psychiatric professionals, people who had similar experiences to things that were going on in the show? It's a privilege, man. We really love to hear your thoughts about all of this stuff because that's the great thing about the show is that it talks about so many real world scenarios that we all deal with. And it really is fun to have our little community here.
Yeah. And speaking of, if you would like to get in touch with us, leave some feedback or just say hello, you can email or send us a voice message as an attachment to what's on tonight and the number 2@gmail.com.
You can visit our Facebook page where there will be a post for the next episode, and you can leave us feedback in the comment section or send us a message through Facebook Messenger. We can also be found on Instagram as well at What's On Tonight Podcast and the number 2. We would greatly appreciate it if you would leave a review, comment, like, and or share on your podcast listening app of choice.
And also word of mouth. If you happen to be in conversations with people about any of the shows we covered and you like what we do, tell them about us. Word of mouth goes a long way. So thank you guys. And I want to give a shout out. Mandy mentioned earlier, Kitty Cantrell wrote us some feedback. She manages a fan page just called The Pitt. And she, I don't know, Mandy, I think, found her and she jumped in and was like, what can I do to help y'all? How can I help you get your show out there? How can I help you get word out? It just so gracious and so kind. So I just wanted to give a shout out to her page and all the other pages who have been so kind to share our posts and generating great content for us to find about the show. We appreciate y'all so much. It does not go unnoticed or unappreciated. And we will post links to all of these pages in our show notes. So when you get time, just click on the link and give them a like and show them some love.
One of the things you guys may have noticed if you follow our page is that we got to over 1,000 listeners or downloads on Apple, Spotify alone last year.
I want to add to that. We started out under Pirate Core Entertainment. So all of our episodes up to, I think it was Crystal McNeil's interview was the first one we posted when Pirate Core Mark helped us get a What's On Tonight Spotify page going. So that 1,000 downloads is only from when we posted our first interview with Crystal McNeil to the end of The Pit and on to the other shows that we've covered. That does not count all the listens that we've gotten on Pirate Core Entertainment.
Listen to us. Well, the reason I bring this up is not just to toot our own horn, although we are really, really
we're excited and proud.
Of that and what we've done. But I want to talk about it because I want to say that what gets us, you guys may be shocked to know this, but we are not professional podcasters or entertainers. This is a labor of love. Literally, Becky, we've been friends for decades. One day she's like, we're hilarious. I've got some knowledge of podcasting now. We can do this. And with Mark from Pirate Core Entertainment's help and guidance and support, we started this project, and mainly through Becky's labor, because I mostly just show up and start running my mouth. This has been something that has taken us places that we never could have dreamed. Have cast and crew on. One of the great things, I'm going to push this, the Brian Tishnell interview that we did, guys, it was so awesome. He's such a cool guy. It's such an interesting perspective on a lot of things. And one of the things, he's a teacher, he's an acting teacher. And one of the things that he says is that he supports everybody's ideals and dreams and journeys. I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically what he said. And that's exactly what this is for us. But what I've been so pleasantly surprised by are the people that are the collaborators. And so if you're out there and you have a dream to have a podcast, to write a book, I don't know, whatever your dream is, do it, man. And try to be open, because if you are, good things are going to come your way, especially in the world right now. I really want to encourage people to make art, do something that feeds your soul. And just to wrap this back up, thank you to everyone that allows us to use your platform, but also specifically to Kitty. Like, we really appreciate all of your support and your help.
Yeah. All right. Well, how about we ride along with Medic Amboy, who popped up at the end of the episode with the gentleman who had his bone poking out of his shoulder, and talk about where else listeners can find us, podcast recommendations, good TV, movies, or anything else you want to share. What you got, Mandy?
I want to mention that there is a creator who I think is on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. She goes by Amanda's Mild Takes. I would like to recommend her for anybody who is having a great deal of anxiety about the state of the world right now. She is phenomenal. She's very, very smart. She's very savvy about politics, but she doesn't panic. And like, to the extent that some people fuss at her, and she will set you straight very quickly and tell you she is not a panicker. That does not mean that she ignores the reality of things, but she's very good at giving you information in a way that does not feel overwhelming, and also helping you to understand how, if you are somebody who is very upset with the things that we are seeing go on politically in this country, she's very good at helping you to understand how they are not nearly as successful in their agenda as they want you to believe and as they are trying to project. She has a series called L's for the Week, a certain person's L's for the week, that she does every Tuesday. And I think that if you are somebody, again, like me, who could use some perspective and some calm and some rationale, then she is somebody that I find very, very helpful.
Amen. All right. For me, podcast recommendations, please check out Still Slang with Penny, Kara, and Sam. For those of you who are new to us and just finding us with our coverage of the Pitt, they cover Buffy, the Vampire Slayer, and Angel, and they just released coverage of Angel episode 16 and 17. You can find a link to their podcast in our show notes. And I also want to give a huge shout out to Paige and Rima with Strange Indeed for their coverage of the final season of Stranger Things. All of their episodes have been released, and they really did a great job covering the entire series. So please give them a check. You can find both of those podcasts on podcastica.com. And for TV recommendations, I won't go too far into it, but I did drink the Kool-Aid and started watching Heated Rivalry, also on HBO Max. Highly recommend it.
Just maybe don't watch with your mom. Or do. I don't know what your mom's into.
Whatever your mom's into, man. Some good stuff. You never know.
Just might be a little, be ready for some big girl conversations. If you,
for sure. And as always, we want to give a huge thank you to Mark and Pirate Core Entertainment for giving us this platform and every single thing you do to help and support us every day. Please visit the Pirate Core website. Mark's done a great job on it. You can find it on our Facebook page and in our show notes. And there you can find our podcast, as well as other podcasts like Dinner for Her with our very own Mandy, Panels to Pixels podcast, Adrenaline Cinema podcast, and other projects Mark is working on.
Well, that wraps up our coverage of episode 1 of the second season of The Pitt. We are so glad to be back covering the show. We've got great guest hosts and interviews lined up for this season. Some of them I'm so excited for. And we will be back next week to cover episode 2 titled 8 a.m.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. Have patience with all things, but first of all, with yourself. I know how things can pile up and it can be hard to be kind and patient with ourselves, but just keep taking lots of deep breaths and hang in there. It'll all be all right. I'm Becky.
And I'm Mandy.
We'll catch you next week when we grab the remote and see what's on tonight. Bye.